Jay Gilton here. I'll show you how to make steak tacos. I'm going to use a miso marinade and fresh corn tortillas and an extra vegan option. I'm going to take a 10-ounce ribeye steak here, put a little salt and pepper. After we put a little bit of oil in the pan to get it hot and ready to go, it'll start smoking when we know it's getting nice and hot, just as a visual cue. We'll take that salt and pepper, put it on both sides, pat it in, and take a little bit of extra pepper and salt, and we'll put it right on the board, and we'll take the edges of this steak and dip it right into it like it was sprinkles on a cupcake. After we get it all nice and coated on all sides, we'll take a look at our work, and then take it and put it on a blistering hot pan to get a nice sound. Yes. Now we are going to get a sear going, so let's go ahead and flip it so we can lock in the juices on both sides. Now, as it sits there and cooks the rest of the way, we'll go ahead and use a digital thermometer, and this depends on how you like your steak, but the temperature is rare, medium, and well right in front of you. I'm going to go ahead and cook mine. Probably says 150, but I'm more of a 135 kind of guy. However, whatever you plan to consume your steak at, cook it a little bit under. For one, it will keep cooking a little bit as you take it out, but two, you want to be able to cook it a little bit in the tacos when you prepare them later. The miso marinade. I'm going to start off by deglazing the pan, a little bit of vinegar until it gets nice, and we're going to take 1 tablespoon of miso, 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Let's go ahead and take this piece of kale and do nothing. We're going to take some sesame seed oil and 2 tablespoons of sugar. Go ahead and mix that all together till it becomes nice and saucy. You might want to thin it out a little bit. Let's go ahead and add a little bit more of that vinegar. There we go. And go ahead and make that to a nice, beautiful pan sauce after we add a little bit more acidity from the juice of 1 fresh squeezed lemon. Go ahead and add the marinade to the steak and let them sit and linger together like old lovers on a park bench. Go ahead and get all this stuff out of the way. Keep the sugar off the table so I don't put it randomly in anything, because sugar is delicious. Let's go ahead and take that kale and leave it there. Let's go on to the next step, which is cabbage. Cabbage in a taco is one of my favorites. You can use lettuce, but I don't. You half it, you take the core out, and let's go ahead and cut it up into 2 cups of nice bite-sized pieces. And we are going to go ahead and put it in this Pyrex bowl. We are now going to put season and spice in here, and we're going to soften the cabbage. To soften the cabbage, 2 things. 1, a little bit of acidity from another whole lemon squeezed in, and then also we're going to put a little bit more of that smoke flavor in there with toasted sesame oil. Go ahead and give those a little bit of a stir just so the flavors kind of get around, and we will give it a little bit of taste and see where we want to go. Let's go ahead and add the salt, which will soften and also bring out the moisture of the cabbage. And once everything's flavored just perfect and right and we like it, we'll go ahead and take it and move it off to the side. Put a little lid on it, flip the steak, and go ahead and recoat the whole thing with the marinade. Let's go ahead and put it off to the side and move on to the pico de gallo. It's like a Mexican salsa deliciousness. And let the GoPro battery die and switch over to another camera. Let's go ahead and cut up half of a large onion, or about 1 small onion, into small manageable pieces and add them to a bowl. Let's go ahead and take 1 fresh green onion and cut up for that delicious fresh flavor. A little cilantro minced up into small little pieces to distribute evenly. Let's take some sweet peppers, let's de-seed and devein them. Now, if you want spice, you can use any pepper, just leave the seeds in. The veins have a little bit more of a bitter taste, so go ahead and take those out if you can. Let's add tomatoes. I like using cherry tomatoes in a pico because there is less juice and more tomato flavor. So this is what I choose to use. They are delicious. However, any tomato will do. Let's add a little bit of garlic, and why only 2 cloves, I'll explain as we go. Let's go ahead and mince them up real small in nice little pieces and let them go into the bowl. Yet again, another whole lemon, freshly squeezed, and let's go ahead and take that and mix that together until it looks like a beautiful vegetable rainbow. Let's go ahead and add a little pepper, and let's go ahead and add a little salt and mix those together till the final tasting is, well, let's add a little bit more of that garlic sunflower oil. Now this is special and why I didn't add so much garlic. The garlic oil is pretty strong and it fixes to the other garlic that was already in there. Let's go ahead and take that and set it off to the side, and let's go ahead and clean up our workstation. Let's go ahead and try a little piece of steak, and oh my God, that's good. So let's go ahead and make 2 quick test tacos. This is my go-to method for when I have all the ingredients sitting in my fridge. It's real easy, real fast to make, and takes no time after all the prep work has been done. So let's take a little olive oil, put it down, and take a corn tortilla, store-bought corn tortilla, and coat the one side, flip it over, and season. Let's go ahead and season the one side and wait for the tortilla to bubble up. Once it is, flip it over, and let's start to assemble the taco. A little bit of cheese down in the beginning for binding agent. Let's go ahead and put the cabbage, a little bit of the pico de gallo, and a lovely piece of steak. Fold it over and let it sit there and cook until it gets crispy. Let's do it again. Take a little oil on one side, turn it so it's coated, and then go ahead and flip the tortilla so we can add a little bit of seasoning to the one side. This is the side whenever you eat that is going to be touching your tongue, so it's nice to have a little flavor bomb on that side. Let's go ahead and, well, looks like the other one needs to be turned. So let's turn the other taco because the one side is crispy. We want both sides to be crispy on this delicious taco. So let's flip it over. All right, looks good. Let's go ahead and address the other one, maybe flip that one over as well, and assemble taco number 2. It again start with cheese, cabbage, pico, and delicious steak. Let's go ahead and fold that over and let that start to get crispy. And as these tacos are getting done, these are quick and efficient and my go-to, as I said. However, you might be wondering, I thought you said fresh tortillas. Well, I did. So here's how you make them. Get a nice big bowl, some masa de harina, and a cup to hold about 1.5 cups water. This is literally right off the bag, 2 cups of masa, and then 1.5 cups of water off to the side. This is where you add other dry ingredients, so your spices, garlic powder, smoked paprika to go with the toasted sesame oils that we have been adding throughout. Get a little cumin for that wonderful taco flavor, maybe some marjoram for some people, a little salt, and some pepper. Make sure everything you put in there gets whisked together before you add the water. I have even put a packet of Hidden Valley Ranch, and it was good. Not everybody liked it, but I say it was good. Let's go ahead and add the water and get that all mixed up so everything is, you can put a little bit of cornmeal onto the board or mas, either one, a little dry powdery corn substance so you have a non-stick surface. Take the ball of dough to the right. Now let's make an apparatus, kneaded device, so we can go ahead and smash all of the corn tortillas into shape. You can actually get a tortilla maker, but I don't have that, so I have a cast iron pan. Go ahead and get another one down to cook on. Let's go ahead and take a little bit of the ball of dough. Now this is where the size of the taco comes in. I'm making a bigger taco, so it's a little bit larger than normal. Let's go ahead and take it and put it in our and put it on the inside of the previous known Ziploc bag. Let's go ahead and take a heavy pan and push down firmly. Let's put our hand right in the center, leaving a nice big handprint on the nice oily pan. And let's go ahead and look at it. Well, maybe a little bit more because it looks a little uneven. Let's go ahead and smooth that out, and that looks good. So let's go ahead and make the rest of these after we go ahead and put this in that pan right over that big nasty handprint that I made. Let's put it in there, put a little bit of that dry on there, and keeps them separated and from sticking. Let's go ahead and make the rest of these. And you can usually just make them and put them right in the pan, but I'm making them all at once so I can do one thing at a time. Let's take this last one and put it right on this hot pan. Well, it's not that hot. And for us to work properly, you want your cast iron to be piping hot. However, this cast iron does still smoke a little bit sometimes, so I'm keeping it at a little bit of a lower temperature because I'm being docile. Plus, the more of the cornmeal that I add, the more tendency it has to smoke. Same thing with the masa. As that sits on the pan and kind of starts to turn brown, and it will burn and smoke. So be warned. This next step, when I take a nice thin spatula, which you will need a spatula to remove the very delicate yet delicious corn tortilla. So you put it on the hot pan and cook it on both sides until it is nice and done, and then you put it under the blanket either on a waiting tortilla warmer plate or a bread pan where you can actually get a nice curve going, but still you can also put it on a rack and let it dry out that way. Either way, they're all going in here to keep form under this towel, because as they age they'll get soft, but they'll keep them warm and they'll be more malleable as they sit there. Well, for a hard shell, I'll show you later. But first, we're gonna make our vegan option, which is a barbecue chicken using jackfruit. So you take a can of jackfruit. The fruit itself is big, expensive, and smells kind of bad, but if you want to, more power to you. You can just go get a can, usually in brine, go ahead and rinse that off. Put the can in a pan and put a little bit of water in there until it gets soft enough where you can shred it and mash it down. Then go ahead and add whatever your favorite barbecue sauce. One of my favorites would be a Carolina style barbecue sauce, and add it to it and just kind of stir and mash until it comes to the consistency and flavor that you would like. And then you have that quick, easy, and you can set it to the side. What we're gonna do is, now that we have all of our ingredients, well, let's go ahead and make another piece of steak. This is flank steak. Super cheap as far as most steaks on there. Real good for carne asada and tacos. Let's go ahead and get it seared on both sides and get the internal temperature to probably about a 138, because at about 140 is where I will want to eat it. And I'm going to cut up in small pieces, so those small pieces will cook a little bit as we make the tacos on a hot pan. Sorry for all the smoke. It smelled delicious, but you can't smell anything, so sorry for the visual interference. And do 2 quick test tacos. This is the store-bought version. Let's go ahead and do a corn tortilla the same way that we made. It just does not seem to stand up the same way, especially when it comes to the bend. Went ahead and broke, but they do stick together somewhat. However, they're much thicker, harder, and take longer to cook, so they're not quick and easy. So let's go ahead and take this flank steak. Let's go ahead and cut it into pieces. Now make sure you cut across the grain so it is easier to chew. Go ahead and cut up in little pieces and go ahead and put it on a plate. Now we have all of the pieces we need except the hard taco shell. After we take all the ingredients and put them in proper refrigeration storage units. Go ahead and get these tacos, and we're gonna go ahead and slowly cook the corn tortilla shells on both sides, not all the way through, just enough to get a nice skin on the outside. We're gonna cook them all different ways, from the dry roasting the first 2, and the next 2 that I'm cooking right now have oil, one on one side and one on both sides, just to see which ones work better, because honestly I don't do all these all the time, so I want to try out which ones work best. And here is just one regular store-bought tortilla. We're gonna go ahead and put those in the oven, and here they are. Now, out of all of those, all 5 of them, this one by far is the best. It's the very first one, dry, pan roasted on both sides, and then put it in the form. It's sturdy, it's delicious, it's flexible, and it is gone and delicious. So this one was not bad. However, the store-bought version done the same way was also quite reliable, just much more brittle, but still a little flexible and was delicious. So let's go ahead and make dinner. Let's go make some tacos, starting off with the delicious and easy to make store-bought style, quick on the grill, fold over, getting crispy with the salt on the outside. Let's do a few of those and get a base going. Now that we have a few of them on the plate, let's go ahead and assemble all the other ones. So since we are going to have to put them together, put a little steak on the pan, cook it together while we assemble the rest of that steak in there. Little goat cheese looks delicious. Let's go ahead and make sure we do a little more jackfruit in there as well, because it is also good. I love steak, but this stuff is really good. If you like barbecue anything, especially barbecue chicken, it's perfect. So there you go. We got a wonderful dinner, and besides making all the components, it was put together in about 10 minutes, and that's dinner for 2, and it is delicious. I hope you enjoyed these tacos, and if you make them, you will. So thanks for checking it out.